Andariki namaskaramlu. Today is another good day for all of us that we are going to have a webinar from very popular person, Dr. Karanam Aravinda garu, ex-DGP of Andhra Pradesh. So he will talk on Hinduism in general and Bhagavad Gita also he will touch upon. I will introduce him to all of you after reciting Vande Mataram and chanting Prarthana. So I request all of you to mute yourself. Hindu Digest. Who is Hindu Digest?
Oh, nadeనండి. Hindu Digest అనే పేరుతో వచ్చింది. I got one small a friend of it. Yeah.
No problem. So Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sufalam, Malayaj Sitalam, Sasyashyamalam, Mataram, Vande Mataram. Subrajosna Pulakitayamini Pulakusumita Drumadala Sobhini Suhasini Sumadhura Bhashini Sukhadam Varadam Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram Vande Mataram. Now I'll request A.H.P. Rao garu to chant Prarthana. Unmute yourself.
Harihi Om. 1 minute Jhanam, Tadantaram Omkaram, Tadantaram Pradhana. Oh. Ganapati Havamehe Kabin Kavina Upavasravastramam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanan Brahmanaspada Anasranvannota Visridasadanam Om Mahaganadhipataye Namaha Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinipati Dhinamatriyavatu Om Mahasaraswatye Namaha Harihi Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrichorma Amritangamaya Om Shanti 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 Matrudevo Bhava Pitrudevo Bhava Acharya Devo Bhava Atithi Devo Bhava Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sarvebhya Namaskaraha. Sarvebhya Swagatam Vyaharami. Namaskaraha.
Dhanyavadamalandi. Now I'll introduce the speaker, Dr. Karanam Aravinda Rao garu, to all of you. And it is my privilege to introduce him to you on this day. Dr. Karanam Aravinda Rao garu, IPS, retired as Director General of Police of United Andhra Pradesh State. His rich and vast experience in policing and administration as a top cop and anti-national expert, Dr. Aravinda Rao garu played an important role in effectively dealing with left-wing extremism in Andhra Pradesh. During his distinguished career in police, security and safety departments, Dr. Aravinda Rao served as the additional DG of State Intelligence Department, the Additional Commissioner of Police, Hyderabad, Inspector General of Police, Greyhounds, IGP, Crime Investigation Departments. He also holds a PhD in Sanskrit and has authored several books on Sanatana Dharma. Renowned for his sincerity and simplicity, Dr. Aravinda Rao developed a keen interest in studying Sanatana Dharma during his service, and this led to pursue a master's in Sanskrit. Under aegis of his gurus, Padma Shri Pullela Ramachandrudu ji, a Maha Upadhyaya, and Shri Tattva Vidhananda Swamiji, Dr. Aravinda Rao developed a deep understanding of Sanatana Dharma, Vedanta, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutras, and Bhashyam. Post his retirement, Dr. Aravinda Rao has authored several books in Telugu, English, besides the book Analysis of Gnanam in Upanishads in Sanskrit. He has also adequately woven ancient Vedic wisdom with practical knowledge and rendered several online lectures on various subjects relating to Advaita, Sankara, Bhashyam, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, to name a few. Dr. Aravinda Rao garu has been the recipient of several awards and was also conferred with the honorary title of Vachaspati by the Rashtriya Vidya Peetham, a deemed university of Government of India, for his valuable service to the field of Sanskrit studies. So let us all welcome Dr. Aravinda Rao garu to this meeting, and we'll request him to take over and deliver his lecture.
Namo Gurubhyaha. Shri Prabhakar Rao garu, Shri Narendra Babu garu, and all other friends who are present here, all other seekers, I should say, all other seekers who are interested in knowing about Gita, the Upanishads, and also about Hinduism. I may be knowing some of them, or maybe some of them might have known you, might be knowing me. I do not know how many of you have followed my talks on the website, Advaita-Academy. We have got a website. For the last 10, 11 years, I have been teaching on that website, www.advaita-academy.org. So there I have taught, say, Bhagavad Gita twice, and third time it is going on. And again, I taught about 6 Upanishads also there, and also Viveka Chudamani, and Valmiki Ramayana, complete Valmiki Ramayana. Then again, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So these are the things which I taught on that. So some of you might have seen. If you have not seen, I request you to kindly see. And on Hinduism, we have got recently a friend of mine in Bangalore. He started one YouTube channel, and he asked me to speak in that. So I have given a few talks in this Hindu Digest also. It is a YouTube channel. This is mostly on Hinduism, generally on Hinduism, on various issues which we are facing, and basically the type of civilizational war which we are facing, we are subjected to. Civilizational war, which is not something new, which is there for the last 1,000 years. So that is one thing. On that, how I have given some talks recently only. That also somebody can see. So today I am very thankful to Sri Prabhakar Rao Garu and Sri Narendra Babu Garu for having invited me to give some general talk on Hinduism in general and Bhagavad Gita in particular. What I'll do is I'll speak for about 45 minutes and or maybe, I don't know. I don't have any presentation. I just came from some other meeting, but still things are in my mind, so there's no problem. But then for about 45 minutes I'll speak. That will be about 5, and then for about half an hour there will be time for you to put questions. So first I will start with Hinduism. This Hinduism, you see, we have the first problem with Hinduism is we have got too many books. So a highly learned man, a person who has read some Valmiki Ramayana, a person who has read some Puranas, and a person who has read many other books on Hinduism, or maybe he's every day doing some puja, every day reciting Lalita Sahasranama, every day reciting some Rudram and whatnot, all those things. And he encountered, there is, on one hand, this gentleman is there. On the other hand, there is another person who has read only one book. So that is a person from another religion who has got only one book, and that one book is very clear to him. So that one book says, yes, there is one God. There is one God who is there sitting in heaven, and there opposed to him there is another person called Satan sitting somewhere in hell. So these are the types of people. In fact, what applies to Christianity applies to Islam also, because the Old Testament is accepted by both. So somebody comes and says, "Oh, you are having 100 gods. You are having you worship all these idols, or you are having some other maybe you are having this caste problem in Hinduism. Caste is something which is atrocious, which is created in Hinduism, etc., etc." Somebody comes and puts a question, and a highly religious person, a person who has read Valmiki Ramayana, a person who has read all this Vishnu Sahasranama, this, that, and all that, he will not be able to answer his question. Why? That is because we have not gone to the Bhagavad Gita. So that is where we come into, that Bhagavad Gita comes into picture. And when we talk about Hinduism, one very, very fundamental point we have to remember is that the Abrahamic religions which are waging, I am very assertive about this, because all of us have to know that we are subjected to an aggressive war. It's a civilizational war. And if we deny it, a politician can deny it. You and I cannot deny it. So we cannot be in the denial mode. So these two Abrahamic religions, they are based on faith. That is fundamental thing we have to see. Faith means, they say, one gentleman says, yes, I have seen God, or I have got one message from God. And then that you have to accept. So he tries to persuade some people. For example, poor Christ, he persuaded some people. And his people went on for some time without any notice, without getting noticed. And for about 3 centuries, they continued to be slaves in the Roman Empire. And then only when King Constantine got converted to Christianity, they got some political clout, and then from there, they never looked back. So that is what was Christianity. Then if we see what is Islam, Islam again, right from day one, this gentleman for some time, he experimented his new religion. That is, he received some messages from directly from God, and then he told some people. Hardly 150 people believed in him for about 10 years. Then he realized that that gentle persuasion was not enough. Then he went. When he was driven out to some other place. From there, he started using some force, and then during his lifetime, he created a small, we can say, a small empire. And after his death, they also never looked back, because that aggressiveness, and then that the commandment to convert the whole world into that religion. It exists in both religions, both in Christianity and also in Islam, and with varying degrees of violence. So, of course, Christianity was also as violent, and then there's no doubt about it. So the first point we have to see is that they are based on the claim made by one particular person. Yes, I have got communication from God. That is it. In the case of Hinduism, what do we see? A total contrast. In the case of Hinduism, if we see the basic texts, that is the Vedas and Upanishads, we all accept that the Vedas and the Upanishads are the basic texts. Once we see that these basic texts, what are they? They are not written by one particular person. They are various deliberations, speculations, or rather contemplations made by several rishis in several parts of the country. At that time, what was called Bharata Varsha, Bharata Khanda, as we call it, it extended beyond, say, Afghanistan, this side beyond, say, around right up to Myanmar, and including this Lanka down south. So all this whole of Bharata Varsha and Bharata Khanda, different parts from different parts, several sages, they contemplated on what is the supreme reality. Nobody said, yes, I have received a message. This is what you have to jolly well believe. Nobody said. All the rishis, if we see the Vedic period, whether it is Rigveda, of course, that is the main Veda, that is the fundamental, that is basic Veda from which all other things they have also borrowed from that. From Rigveda only, Yajurveda mantras, most of the mantras from Yajurveda are from Rigveda. Similarly, Atharva Veda and Samaveda also. So, of course, I am not a Rigvedi. Don't say, you may not think, please don't think that I am a Rigvedi, I am a Yajurvedi. But still, Rigvedas, that primacy is very much there. We have to accept that it is primary. But anyway, whether it is Rigveda, where lot many suktas, they talk about what is the nature of that supreme reality. And when we come to the later stages of Vedas, that is, we know that the Vedas, there are 4 different levels that we need not go into all those details. The last portions of the Vedas are called the Upanishads. They are called the Upanishads. Upanishad is something, it is said to be something which directly leads us to what is that supreme reality. That is what it means also, Upanishad. So it destroys our ignorance and then it takes us to the supreme reality. It leads us to the supreme reality, to the knowledge of supreme reality. So that Upanishads. So when we see these Upanishads, how do they define that supreme reality? In fact, how is Gita connected to that? I will come to that. But then Upanishads, if we see Vedas and Upanishads, Vedas, of course, Vedas, and then Brahmanam, Aranyakam, and then the last portion is Upanishad. If we see all these things, they are speculations, they are contemplations by various rishis. And how do they define that absolute reality? They define it as, okay, you take a Upanishad, one Upanishad says in a particular way, what is this, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, it says, for example, Taittiriya Upanishad, it says, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, what we call supreme reality is something which is eternally, infinitely existing consciousness. If we want to translate that, those 3 words, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, it gets translated as infinitely existing consciousness. And similarly, if you see Ishavasya Upanishad and some other Upanishad, Ashrotra, I don't exactly remember that Mandukopanishad Vakyam, but anyway, all these sentences, I don't have the books readily with me. So all these things, they define one thing called a Nirguna Brahma. Nirguna Brahma is, it is totally an impersonal entity. This Brahma, what we call Brahma, is something which is designated in neuter gender. For example, when we say God, we say he. When we say Durga Devi, we say she. So when we say Brahma, we are not talking about that Saraswati's husband. There is one Brahma and one Brahma. This is another confusion. That is Brahma. When we say Brahma, we are referring to the 4-headed Brahma, who is the husband of Saraswati. He is the creator. He is the lower level. When we say Brahma, in English, we write it as Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. Brahma is the thing. Brahma. So that Brahma is that Nirguna Brahma, which is not a person. It is of the nature of infinitely existing consciousness, something which is beyond cognition, beyond our senses, beyond our mind and senses. So that is what this Brahma is. So the first thing we have to know is that Upanishads are not something which are, it is not a belief system, but it is something, a logical system. Upanishads are basically a logic, all these rishis, they logically contemplated, they debated. In fact, if we see Upanishads like Brihadaranyaka Upanishad gives a wonderful example of sage Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya in the court of Janaka, he encounters so many other sages. so many doctrines. So people come with so many doctrines and say, oh, this is what is reality. This is what is reality. So then he debates with all of them. And then that Yajnavalkya, he is almost the star hero in that that Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So there again, we see how many gods we have. For example, there is a chapter called Shakalya Brahmanam in that Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In that Shakalya Brahmanam, one sage called Shakalya, he debates with Yajnavalkya. So he puts a question: how many gods are there? Then this Yajnavalkya says 3,306, something like that. He says, "You tell me who are all there?" Then he says, no, they are all forms of 33 gods. So who are these 33 gods? Then he says 33 is that is Vasulu, that is 8 Vasus, 11 Rudras and 12 Adityas, then Brihaspati and again Indra. So these people, this 33, Koti means category. Koti does not mean 1 crore as we call it. Koti, normally we take it as 1 crore. So unfortunately, this idea has come into Telugu. So this 33 crore means we think that 330 million gods we are having in our text. So in fact, I was shocked to see one very well-known Swamiji, who speaks in English, who said, oh, we have got 330 million gods. So something like that. That is, that gentleman has not seen the Upanishads. That gentleman has not seen that Upanishad, that Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So finally, that Yajnavalkya reduces that number to 6, then again to 3, then to 1.5, then only to 1, saying that this 1 alone is the reality, and that one reality is manifesting as so many things. Whether you call it Rudra, Vasu, Aditya, all these Vishwe, Devas and all that, all are manifestations of one reality. And that supreme reality is of the nature of consciousness, and that consciousness is something which is manifesting as this universe. So there again, there are debates. You see, when we are talking about consciousness, consciousness is what we call intelligence. So then intelligence, and also we are seeing what is called inanimate object. The world around us is totally inanimate, what we call Jada. So there is what is sentient, and there is something insentient, that is Chaitanya Jadam, Chaitanam Jadam. So are there two entities, or is there only one which is manifesting as two? So that is one basic question in philosophy. So Advaita Vedanta, that is non-dual Vedanta, says, of course, I am telling just the substance, gist of it, but then there is a lot of logic. If we want to see that logic, we have to go to the text and then we have to see what it is. So the gist is that there is only one reality, that consciousness, which is manifesting as this whole universe which is around us. So that is what Vedanta, that Advaita Vedanta says. Then there is one Visishta Advaita Vedanta. Visishta Advaita is what we call in English qualified non-dualism. So there they say, yes, both are there. Both are there. That is Chaitanam and Jadam, both are there. But they are both in one entity called Supreme Being Narayana. So they accept one Supreme Being called Narayana or Vishnu, and then these two things are in him. So that is how they accept it. Then again, if we come to this Dvaita philosophy of Madhvacharya, Dvaita philosophy says, no, Chaitanam is totally different, and this Jada is totally different. And not only Chaitanam and Jadam are different, but all these beings, all the beings means all the human beings or animals, whatever they are all individual souls and distinct souls. Whereas the Advaita Vedanta says, they are all one intelligence which is pervading, or rather which is influencing, or rather which is activating the antahkaranas of all the living beings. Whether it is an ant, whether it is a mosquito, whether it is a snake, whether it is a scorpion, or whether it is a lion, or a human being, or a dog, whatever. So there is only one reality. There is only one consciousness which is activating the minds of all these things. That is what we also see in the our Sandhya Vandana mantra, that is Gayatri mantra, Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. The meaning is that only we contemplate on that reality which is activating all our minds. So there is only one reality according to Advaita Vedanta, and two in one, two in one in the case of Vishishtadvaita, and several in the case of Dvaita. Again, these three things, out of these three, which is right and which is wrong, there is a big debate. So I am born in this particular tradition called Advaita Vedanta. So I feel convinced that this Advaita Vedanta, there is only one reality which is appearing as the universe. So we will leave it at that. Then what is the connection between the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads? There is a well-known sloka you might have heard because you have been exposed to so many talks from the same organization. You might be knowing one sloka which says, Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsas sudhir bhokta dugdham gitamratam mahat. So that means all the Upanishads are compared to the cows. And the milkman, who is the milkman, our famous milkman, Lord Krishna, Dogdha Gopalanandana. Then where is the calf? Partho Vatsaha. Partha, that is Arjuna, is the Vatsa, the calf. And Dugdham Gitamratam Mahat. What is the milk? That Gitamratam, the nectar called Gita, is the Amrutam which is given to Partha. And incidentally, it is given to us also. And in fact, in the commentaries, they write, Arjunam Nimitti Kritya, they say. Arjunam Nimitti Kritya means Arjuna was only a pretext in order to reveal the Gita to mankind. So that is what the commentators, for example, Shankaracharya writes. Arjunam Nimitti Kritya, Lokanugraha Chikishaya, Lokasangraha Chikishaya, Lokanujigurukshaya. That is what he says, in order to bless, or rather in order to, bless Anujigaruksha, to bless the whole world, in order to ensure the well-being of the whole society or the whole world. Taking Arjuna as a pretext, Krishna revealed this to mankind. So that is how the commentators say. So that is the position of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, if you see, this starting from second chapter onwards, most of the lines, most of the verses, you see the Moolam in the Upanishads. Somewhere you see the Moolam in the Upanishads. It may be Kathopanishad, mostly Kathopanishad, Mundakopanishad, and many other Upanishads. Very directly, some slokas are taken from the Kathopanishad. Nayam Hantina Hanyate, etc. So some slokas are taken from the Upanishads. So Bhagavad Gita is said to be the summary substance of the Upanishads. So that is the reason why those who are not able to go to the primary text, that is the Vedas and Upanishads, we can at least read, or at least we have to read, not we can, but we have to at least read the Bhagavad Gita. Then what about the Puranas and Itihasas? They are also there. The Puranas and Itihasas, they are also called secondary texts. And in fact, Bhagavad Gita itself is a small part of one Itihasa named Bharata. We all know that. We all know that Bhagavad Gita is only a small portion, 700 verses in 100,000 verses. So it is a small portion in that Bhagavad Gita, in that Bhagavatam, Srimad Mahabharatam. And Mahabharatam has also got several other philosophical passages. But of course, Ramayana doesn't have philosophical passages. Then again, if we see Puranas they do have. And Puranas, unfortunately, where do we place the Puranas? We have got Shaiva Puranas, they have got their own hierarchy. We have got Vishnu Puranas, they have got their own hierarchy. And Durga, Devi, they have got their own hierarchy. So you see different hierarchies. Then which hierarchy is correct? So then we have to come back to Advaita Vedanta, which says that reality has no form, no name, that is Nirguna, Nirakara, Nirguna. When we say reality is only Vishnu, then what about others? At the Purana level, what they have done is, of course, the very traditional view is that all the Puranas were written by sage Vyasa in order to harmonize various traditions. But many Swamijis also, they don't agree with that. Many Swamijis, they say that no, they might have been written at various times. For example, Shaiva tradition, they wrote some Puranas. And in that tradition, Shiva is the ultimate reality. And this Advaita Vedanta is actually embedded into that, or rather Advaita Vedanta is put into that structure. And in that structure, what we call Supreme Brahman, or Supreme Reality called Brahman, is that Shiva. And Vishnu is next to him. And they don't say like Abrahamic religions. Abrahamic religions, what do they say? this person is the only God. All of the people, all other gods are forms of devil, they say. We don't say like that. We don't say that, for example, a follower of Shiva does not say that followers of Vishnu, they are following a devil. Followers of Durga are following a devil. Similarly, follow Vishnu. If you see the Vishnu class of Puranas, there are, I don't exactly remember the number, at least 4 or 5 Puranas. So those Puranas, in them, Vishnu is the supreme, and Shiva is his best friend or best devotee. So something like that. Similarly, if you go to books like Devi Saptashati and all that, there you find the goddess. That goddess, she is the supreme reality, what the equivalent of that supreme reality, Brahma. So that is how these Puranas are there. So Puranas, we can take them into consideration. At least my gurus means both my. I was lucky to have 2 eminent gurus. That is Padma Shri Pullela Sri Ramachandrudu Mahamahopadhyaya, and again Swami he is also a Mahamahopadhyaya, Sri Tattvavidananda Saraswati. So they are of the opinion that all the Puranas are not written by sage Vyasa. We may or may not agree with that, but these 2 gentlemen, these 2 gurus, they say that. I also feel like that. Then that is because the same sage Vyasa, to please the Vaishnavites, he doesn't write one thing. To please the Shaivites, he doesn't write one thing. Okay, this is a controversy. I will leave like that. So Puranas, we need not take into, we should not take it as the highest pramana. Pramana means that is what we have to accept. Pramana is something which we accept it as, that is the standard. So it is not, but we take Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita again is value neutral, we can say. Bhagavad Gita, though Lord Krishna says I several times, there are several references to I, me, etc. Aham, mama, all these things, me, matam, etc. He says, but whenever he says like I, he is speaking as the spokesperson of that supreme reality, that consciousness, that supreme entity called supreme reality, that Brahman, which has no form, no shape. So he is speaking as that spokesperson of that supreme reality. And sometimes he comes down and then he speaks at a Vyavahara level. So one more point which we have to see, which we have to remember in Hinduism is, our rishis, they spoke at 2 levels. One is at the level of a philosopher, that is the Upanishads, and then, mainly Upanishads. They are at the level of philosopher. And the Puranas at the level of the common man. Because philosopher, every common man will not be able to understand if you say that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, then again this is something which is formless, and then Anejadekam Manaso Javiyo Nainat Deva Apnuvan Purvamarshatu. So something like that, that Ishavasya Upanishad says. So these things the common man may not understand. He needs some god or goddess on whose shoulders he cries and then tells his all his requests. So at the level of common man, they permitted all traditions. So that is the reason why in the Bhagavad Gita, we have got several shlokas like that. I will come to that. So this Bhagavad Gita, let us take it as the book which is the sum and substance of the Upanishads, and we have to read it thoroughly. That is one thing. And while reading it also, we have to read it in such a way, that is, we read it keeping in mind the present questions we are encountering from other people. For example, somebody says, we have got only one God. You have got so many hundreds of gods. Then how is it? Why is it we are having like that? Then we have got various verses in the Gita which say about this absolute reality, which is absolutely formless. And there are also verses which say, okay, you can worship any form. For example, Gita, 7th chapter, Lord Krishna says, Yo yam tanum bhaktah shraddhayarchitum icchati. Tasya achalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyam. That shloka says. So what does it mean? Anybody, you can worship in any form. Whatever, in fact, in that ancient India, that huge land, there were already so many traditions. If we see the life history of Shankaracharya, he went from Kashmir, Kanyakumari to from Kerala to Kashmir. He debated with so many people. He examined so many traditions, and he saw that there were some predominant traditions. there were some traditions which were in accordance with the Vedic morality or Vedic ethics, and there were some other systems which are not in accordance with the Vedic injunctions or Vedic ethics. And then he said all these Avaidic forms, he condemned those things, and then that should not be done. For example, various things like animal sacrifice, and then all this Vamachara, etc. So he kept them away, and then he standardized 6 dominant, which were whatever were the predominant say traditions at that particular time. So that is the reason why we call him Shanmata Sthapanacharya. That is one who established 6 mata. Mata means one tradition, let us say. So that is Hindu Vaishnavism, one tradition, Shaivism, one tradition, Shakta, Ganapatya, similarly Surya, similarly the Muruga. So these were the predominant traditions which were there at that particular time. So he is called Shanmata Sthapanacharya. He said, okay, you please worship Vishnu, we don't mind, but don't condemn other gods, all other gods. You keep Vishnu if you want, you keep Vishnu at the highest pedestal, and then treat all others as his own forms. So similarly, Shiva also, if you are worshipping Shiva, you treat all of the people as forms of the same Shiva. If you are worshipping Ganesha, okay, all other Ganesha is the supreme reality. So that is the reason why we say Ganesha, we have got a prarthana. Then again, we also say Yam Brahma Vedanta Vido Vadanti Param Pradhanam Purusham Tathanye. We say Yam Brahma Vedanta Vido Vadanti. That same Ganesha, the Vedanta, the Vedanta, the knowers of Vedanta, they say Brahma. Yam Brahma Vedanta Vido Vadanti Param Pradhanam Purusham Tathanye. That is Sankhyas. They call it Pradhanam. Sankhya, that is a Sankhya technical term. Param Pradhanam Purusham Tathanye. Vishwodgateh Karanam Ishwaram Va. There is one Ishwara who is the cause of this universe. That is what these Nayayikas, all these logicians say. So you are worshipping Ganesha as that supreme reality. And that supreme reality, different people, different schools call it in different way. So I worship that Ganesha. So like that, he harmonized various traditions. What we have to realize is that Shankaracharya harmonized various traditions. So that is, he also introduced what is called Panchayatanam. So that is the reason why in South we still, not only South, maybe in North also, I'm not sure. But here, of course, we are having this Panchayatana. So this is how our sages, they harmonize the traditions. So that is how Krishna says, yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhayarchitam ichati, in whatever form, with whatever name and form, they all go to one reality. That is how we read, we say in Sandhyavandan also, Sarvadeva Namaskara, Keshavam Pratigachati, etc. So like that, we harmonize various traditions. In fact, Krishna goes on to say, Ye Pyanya Devata Bhakta, Yajante Shraddhayanvita. They may be Anya Devata Bhakta. They may not be worshipping me. They may be worshipping somebody else, but I am not bothered. I am not jealous. Ye Pyanya Devata Bhakta, Yajante Shraddhayanvita. Tepi Mameva Kaunteya, Yajanti Avidhi Purvakam, he says. They are also worshipping me only. So when he says me, he is not referring to himself as Krishna, son of Vasudeva, etc. He is referring to himself as that supreme reality. So that we have to understand. So when we read Gita, we have to keep in mind various questions which we encounter from the other people. So why I am saying all this is, recently you might have seen the discussion relating to a Kerala story. That Kerala story exposed the weaknesses of Hindu parents. That is, the Abrahamic religions, the parents are very meticulously teaching their children, even at a young age, they are teaching them, yes, ours is a very superior religion. We are supposed to be the masters of this world. So that conviction, it is drilled into them. Whereas we are not doing it because we ourselves are not very well informed. Because even the parents, in fact, our target group should be the young parents. In fact, for young parents only, I have been trying to tell. For the last 10 years, I have been trying to tell. My first book was How to Tell Hinduism to Your Child. Then again, I revised it twice, and then now the latest edition also is there. How to Teach Hinduism. Only that tell word, I have changed it as teach. How to Teach Hinduism to Your Child. So that teaching Hinduism to our children is very, very important. And how should we teach? The first thing we have to teach them is that ours is a religion which is based on the philosophical doctrine of the Upanishads. And that philosophical doctrine of the Upanishads is discussed in what is called Brahma Sutras. In the whole world, there is no such thing called Brahma Sutras. You see, you take the whole, all the religions you take, there is no book which is equivalent to Brahma Sutras. What is the speciality of this Brahma Sutras? That is, Brahma Sutras, there is debate questions. Can God have form? Whether he has a form or whether he doesn't have a form. Is he one or many? Or can he have favorites? Or can he, can he favor some people and can he be angry with some people? The prakaranam called Vaishamya Nairgranya Adhikaranam. Vaishamya Nairgranya, the God, that supreme reality. Nothing to do with you. Vaishamya Nairgranya, there is no Vaishamyam, there is no enmity with anybody, there is no lack of compassion against anybody. He is equal to all. It is not even he. That entity is something which is beyond, it transcends all these things. At the lower level, we have got what is called for a functional God. Functional God, we visualize any God. So that is how the Vedanta structure is there. I may not be able to give the entire structure in this a short time. Maybe in a more structured way, I'll be able to tell them if we have got time. So this Bhagavad Gita, we have to keep in mind various questions. Similarly, the idolatry. How is it idolatry? Are we idolaters? We are doing it as an aid for upasana, dhyana. In Bhagavad Gita, there are various levels. That is, Arjuna is first of all introduced to Karma Yoga. And first of all, who taught Bhagavad Gita to whom? It is, you see, Lord Krishna is also a fighter. Arjuna is also a fighter. So one fighter or warrior taught to another warrior. So that is what is Gita. And his intention was not to make him a sannyasi. If the intention nowadays, because the Bhagavad Gita is taught only by all the Swamijis, whenever we look at some Bhagavad Gita, in our mind, some Swamiji comes into picture, some Swamiji, some Chinmayananda, some other Swamiji. So such picture is there, and we think that it is only for sannyasis. But this is something which is taught to Arjuna. Why? Because Arjuna was in a dilemma. He was in a moral dilemma. And then a big picture had to be given to him. And that big picture, unless a big picture is given and unless his dharma is told to him in the vast framework, he will not be able to accept it fully. Arjuna is not an ordinary soldier. If he were to be an ordinary soldier, Krishna could have commanded, hey, jolly well, you fight. He is not like that. Arjuna has to be convinced. So he gave that big picture and then he told entire the philosophical picture. He gave the picture and then he said, you are at this level. You are at the very primary level where you are supposed to do Karma Yoga. And then after Karma, along with Karma Yoga, you slowly graduate to Atma Sanyama. That is self-restraint, and then Shama, Dhamma, Titiksha, etc., etc. Then again, you also go to then Dhyana Yoga, where Dhyana Yoga, in the Dhyana Yoga, all these techniques of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, they are told, they are explained briefly. Then again, you come to the second, the next level, that is, what is the nature of reality? What is the nature of Brahman? That seventh, starting from 7th, 8th, 9th, they tell about the nature of supreme reality. And that is where you get the crux of Vedanta, the philosophical aspects of Vedanta. In one shloka, for example, Matsthani Sarvabhutani, he says, that is, all the beings are in me. Then the very next shloka, he says, Nacha Matsthani Bhutani, nothing is there in me. Then how to read that? So you have to go to the commentator. And Bhagavad Gita, I strongly recommend to you, please don't read it on your own. Because I also tried to read it on my own for a long time. And every time I found some contradictory lines, I stopped there. So we have to listen to Gita from a teacher only. I have listened to at least half a dozen teachers, the various people who explained the Gita. I heard it in Telugu and then in English from Paramarthananda and then in Hindi, Akhandananda Maharaj, etc. I heard so many people. So we have to listen. Unless we listen, we cannot get the actual meaning of that. So coming to this, Krishna he gave a complete picture to Arjuna, and then he told him starting from this Karma Yoga. Then he talks about Dhyana Yoga and all that. Then again, Bhakti comes as a very good aid. Bhakti is a very good, very strong aid or helper, because in bhakti there is an element of surrender. There is an emotional content also. You are visualizing your favorite God, and then you are worshipping, and then the God is almost becomes your family member. We all have our family gods. So that bhakti is something which immediately immediately means which purifies the activities of people. When you are doing your work with Ishwararpana Buddhi, and also combined with not only Ishwararpana Buddhi but also with Bhakti, then there is an emotional content also there, and our actions are purified. And Vedanta says that a person has to attain Chitta Shuddhi, that is purity of mind, before he goes to the next level called Vedanta Shravana, that is going to the teacher, listening to Upanishads and then understanding the Upanishads, etc. So this is the Sopana Krama, that is the hierarchy in which Krishna teaches that Arjuna. So these are the points which we have to remember. Then again about caste, I don't know how many of you are, very strong Brahmins. But then what Krishna says is, what we have to realize is that what is told in our books is only Varna and not caste. That is, in fact, I have given 4 or 5 talks on this subject in the same Hindu Digest. If you go to Hindu Digest YouTube channel, I think in the beginning, I have given about at least some 4 talks on what is Varna and what is caste. That is what exactly Gita says. Gita says in the 4th chapter and also in the 18th chapter. In the 4th chapter, Krishna says, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. So that is where he says, well, the Varna is Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Depending on the Guna, the Karma is given. So this line is very, very clearly told again in the 18th chapter, 41st shloka. Karmani Pravibhaktani Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Shudranancha Parantapa Karmani Pravibhaktani Swabhava Prabhavair Gunai. That second line, Karmani Pravibhaktani, the duties are allocated, they are divided and given. How? Swabhava Prabhavair Gunaihi. That's Swabhava. What is the innate nature of a person? So that innate nature of a person, is it Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, or Tamoguna? Depending on that, the categorization was done. So we have to see what the commentators have written. The commentators have very, very clearly written. Commentator like Nilakanta has very, very clear. Nilakanta Chaturthara is a very famous commentator. And Nilakanta Vyakya is there for the whole of Mahabharata, not only for Gita. It is for the entire Mahabharata, Nilakanta Vyakya is there. So in that Vyakya, he very clearly says, if these qualities are there, when you have got that Satyam, Ahimsa, Arjavam, Shanti, all these things, when these qualities are there, then only a person has to be called a Brahmin. And if these qualities are there in some other person, so that person should be called a Brahmin. And if this man doesn't have, he should be called a Shudra. That is, he quotes from Nahusha Prashna. In Mahabharata, there is an episode called Nahusha Prashna, where Dharmaraja very, very clearly says, if these qualities are not there in this person, so that he should not be called a Brahmin. So probably in olden days, probably there might have been one system. It also appears that, for example, one Rishi is there. Some people, he has got some sons. Some people become Kshatriyas and some people become Brahmanas. So there are some other examples where if he has got 4 sons, one becomes a Kshatriya, one becomes a Brahmana, one is a Shudra, one is a Vaishya. Then again, we have got one shloka in Manusmriti, which says that at that particular time in the beginning, when this Varna system was getting formed, there was somebody, some teacher who was examining the boy, who was examining the innate nature of the boy, and then deciding, okay, let him be a Brahmin. So there is a shloka in chapter 2, 2-148. If you want to kindly note down, 2-148. That shloka says, Acharyastvasya yam jatim vidhivat vedaparagaha utpadayati savitriya. Savitri means that Gayatri mantra only. Sa satya sa ajara amara, he says. Acharyastvasya yam jatim vidhivat vedaparagaha. So that Acharya was testing a boy and then placing him, okay, you be a Brahmana. You are fit to be a Kshatriya. You are fit to be this. You are fit to be that. So the Acharya used to decide. And probably maybe because maybe population expanded and then more and more people, teachers were needed. At some point of time, Brahmin's son, naturally he picked up all the traits from his father, and then he was naturally well placed. Naturally, he had that advantage of heredity also. So he was considered a Brahmin. So that is how it comes. So, but then this is Varna. But what about caste? Caste is not at all told anywhere in our Upanishads or in the Bhagavad Gita. Caste names are mentioned, for example, in Rudram. Rudram also names are there. For example, he says Ratha Namo Ratha Krudhyah, Ishu Krudhyah, Ratha Karyapyascha. I don't remember that entire verse. There are Namah Kulalebhya, Karmarebhyascha Namo. Kulalebhya, Kulala is somebody who is make a part of Karmara is somebody who is an ironsmith. Then I bow to that goldsmith, I bow to this washerman, I bow to this man, that man, I bow to the arrow maker, I bow to that bow maker, etc., etc. Those were all the professions at that particular time. So all those things, they were already there. And Rudram actually is a meditation to see divinity in everybody. All these names are mentioned, and we are supposed to see the divinity in everybody. So that is what Rudram is. So this, coming back to this Varna and Jati, Varna and caste. Caste is something which evolved because of a sociological need. Because just as we need clothes now, man 5,000 years ago also needed clothes. He needed clothes. So there was somebody who had that technical skill, and the people who had all that skill, they became one group, and then they started intermarrying, and then they became a kulam. Then similarly, some goldsmith, it requires some skill. And because it required some skill, they all came together. The people who had that skill came together. So similarly, all other people, all other communities, so many trades were there in olden days. Those trades are not there, no longer there. So this caste is something which evolved depending on the social need, and that was a universal phenomenon all over. I mean, if you see Europe and all these places also, they also had their caste guilds, GUILD, guild, caste guilds. But then when Europe had that, say, industrial revolution, during that industrial revolution, then all these things, they became irrelevant. Just as small shops are becoming irrelevant, and then small trades have disappeared now. So similarly, when industrial revolution came, many of these caste guilds, they disappeared. Whereas in India, we did not have industrial revolution. That is because we were under the rule of the British, and the British were still trying to consolidate on caste lines, and then they were trying to divide us on caste lines. These British fellows, they enumerated so many castes, and then they said, okay, you are a higher caste, you are a lower caste. So they created a feeling of high and low, and then they exploited that feeling, and then they exploited it for the purpose of conversion. So that is their agenda. So unfortunately, even after say independence, our leaders also, they did not see the game, and then they also, in order to have their own vote banks, they said, oh, we will do this for this community, we'll do this for this community. They started doing this. So that is how this caste has consolidated, but it has nothing to do with religion. There is a mention of it in our Manusmriti. Manusmriti, what does he do? There is what is called Varna Sankara. So in that Varna, a person who is born in that Varna Sankara, suppose a Brahmin woman marries a Kshatriya, a Brahmin woman marries a Shudra, or a Vaishya, then there is what is called a Varna Sankara. To prevent that Varna Sankara, what they did was, these people who are born in that Varna Sankara, born in that particular, to that type of marriage, they were put into an already existing, caste or a particular group. So and so father, so and so mother. So it is something which is not correct. So okay, you be a forester, you become a Vyadha. Vyadha is something like a hunter. Somebody else, okay, you become this. Somebody else, you become a charioteer, Suta. So like that, Manusmriti, it used already existing characters, existing castes or trade groups, let us say, So nobody can say, no Brahmin or no Manu can say, okay, the moment a person is born, okay, you be the washerman, you be the goldsmith, you be something like this, you be a Brahmin, etc. Nobody can say. So this caste is something which has evolved depending on the sociological need. So this is how we have to see. Reading Bhagavad Gita, we have to keep in mind various questions which are posed to us about so many gods and all that. So many gods I very briefly answered, but then if I have to answer in a more elaborate way, I have to take those slokas and then explain. Then liberalism, absolute total liberalism. It is there only in our books, in our tradition. It is not there in Abrahamic religions. For example, when he says you worship any form, yo yam yam tanum bhaktaha, what more liberalism you need? And he also says, yepi anya devata bhaktaha, even if you worship some other deity, I don't mind. Such a book, such a statement, you cannot find in any other religion, in any other religion. In fact, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nisraigunyo Bhavarjuna. That is, this Vedas, they are concerned only with the Traigunya. Traigunya means this samsara. This is all this samsara. You do this yajna, that yajna, etc., etc., and then you are caught in that cycle of birth and death. You have to go beyond that. Leave your own books. Leave all the books. That word is there several times in our literature. In fact, Shankaracharya also says, "Palalamiva dhanyarthi." You discard the book. Go beyond the book. No other religion will say, go beyond the book. For them, book is the ultimate. But here we say, you use the book. You use the book in order to have that inner growth. And then once you achieve that, that book becomes irrelevant. You are not going, you need not throw it away. That becomes irrelevant. So similarly, yajna, yaga, etc., etc. A jnani does not stop doing all that. A jnani will be doing it. But then he will be doing it for loka sangraha, to be a role model for others. It is not as though when a person becomes a jnani, he discards all karma. A jnani also does karma. For example, our Shankaracharya of Sringeri or some other acharyas, they also do pujas. Why? It is not that they are asking for punyam like us. They are doing it to be role models for us. So a jnani does karma with equal enthusiasm. And saktah karmanya vidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata. Kuryad vidvans tatha asaktah chikirsu lokasangraham. Just as an ignorant man is doing all that karma for some benefit, I want this, I want swarga, I want punyam, etc., etc. A jnani does it not for any personal benefit, but for lokasangraha, to be a good role model, to keep people in, in a ethically proper manner. So let all the people do their karma properly. So that is what we have to see. So these are certain basic things which we see. I think I spoke for about 45 minutes. I wanted to say one more thing, but then I'll take maybe 5 minutes. I find that in our anxiety to teach Bhagavad Gita, in our anxiety to teach Hinduism, we do commit some mistakes. For example, we see that parents, because parents are very much worried, what do? We put them in our maybe Shamaya mission, or we put our people in some Samskrita Bharati or something. Or I have seen people putting questions to their children on Ramayana. For example, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna. Tell the names of all their wives. Or you tell the names of all these Upapandavas. Or some other episode somewhere in some such thing. All those things. And recently I saw a video from America. And in that video, they were asking the kids, all the kids, they learned lot many shlokas from Bhagavad Gita. And they were putting some questions. So when was this Swami born? Who is this? Who established this particular Peetham? And on what date was the Swami born? Who were the parents of the Swamiji? And then when did he take up sannyasa, etc. The Swami may be anybody, even let it be Shankaracharya also. Suppose I tell my child, oh, on this particular day, Shankaracharya was born in so-and-so place, his parents were these people, and he was right from childhood, he was interested in taking up sannyasa, a crocodile caught him. All these things I tell, suppose. And I don't tell him anything about what Gita says. Then suppose somebody puts a question, Are we are having one God, you are having so many gods. Then this man is not able to answer, even if he reads Ramayana, even if he reads Puranas, even if he reads any other Purana also. So Vedanta becomes the fundamental thing which we have to teach to our children. Vedanta is not difficult to teach. Vedanta, you can teach it in a very, very logical way because Vedanta is logical. And in fact, we can very logically explain. We can very logically explain to our kids, you see, for the whole universe, there can be only one reality. And that one reality, how can it be there? Some God who is sitting somewhere in heaven. So when it comes to that God sitting in heaven also, there are again Shankaracharya says lokaha. Lokaha means lokyate iti lokaha. Lokyate anubhuyate janmani, he says. That is when you talk about loka, he says there is no particular three-dimensional place which is hanging somewhere in heaven. It is something which is our own visualization. A particular loka is our own visualization. It is our own mental creation. So that is what Shankaracharya says. And when we talk about these devas and asuras are not people who are standing in the skies. And then devas, some handsome people and some other ugly people, they are pot-bellied people with some horns, etc. They are not, they are fighting. It's not like that. Devas are Devaha Shastrodbhasita Indriya Vrittaya, he says in his commentary on Brihadaranyaka Bhashyam, and also one more, another place in Chandogya. Devaha Shastrodbhasita Indriya Vrittaya. Our own activities, which are refined by the study of Shastras. So they are the Devas. And the opposite are the Asuras. Asuraha tad viparitaha. And what is this Devasura Sangramaha? Anudinam Vartamanaha Adhyatmika Sangramaha. That is Adhyatmika Sangrama, an inner battle which takes place in us every time, every day, between the good pravrittis and the bad pravrittis. So that is how Vedanta tells in a very, very rational way. And we can explain Vedanta to our kids. And I feel that teaching Vedanta to our kids is a great need. And luckily for us, there are very good Swamijis who are speaking in English. For example, you take a person like Swami Sarva Priyananda, who is in America, who teaches in that Vedanta Society of California, Sarva Priyananda. There are many other Western Swamijis also. There is one Swamiji, American Swami called Tadatmananda, Arsha Vidya, something. There is one place. So like that, there are very many Swamijis who are now teaching in English. We have to, the parents, first of all, they have to listen to Vedanta. Unless we tell our children, tell Vedanta to our children, there is no point telling various other things, like the biography of a Swami, questions, putting some quiz on Ramayana. So all these things, they may be good, but then Puranas are there for emotional maturity. Ramayana we have to read in order to see what are the ethical, say, dilemmas which Rama encountered and how he handled it. Similarly, Mahabharata, ethical dilemmas which Dharmaraja handled, how he handled. That is for the emotional maturity. But regarding logic, we have to come back to Vedanta. So with this, I stop. Any questions? Because like a rapid fire, I spoke. So please put questions.
Okay. Dhanyavadamulanడి. So now we will, those who want to ask questions, they can raise your hand digitally. Meanwhile,
I have got time. I have got adequate time up to 6 p.m. I can sit, no problem.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the time. There is one or two questions in the chat box from PS Murthy Garu. The first one is, please clarify why Mahabharata is given the status of an epic or itihasa. On the other hand, Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, is given, is called Upanishad.
Yeah.
That is
so Bhagavad Gita, yeah, that is, see, Mahabharata and Ramayana, they are the two itihasas we have. Itihasa is basically something which is something which happened. Iti iha asa. That is, thus it was. Iti iha asa. Thus it was. That's what it means. So that is something which is Rama was a historical character. Dharmaraja, Krishna, and all these people were historical characters. So they were taken, and then the way they handled various situations, that is what is shown to us. And the people who wrote these epics, they had a great vision for the whole say country. They had a great cultural vision for the whole country. and cultural vision, not a temporary vision, but something which is based on the Vedic Dharma. So Itihasa and Purana, they are supposed to convey what is told in the Vedas. Vedas, they talk about pravrutti dharma and nivrutti dharma. That is one at the vyavaharika level, that is how a person has to conduct himself on earth, and what he has to do to attain that moksha or the knowledge of that supreme reality. So these two levels it teaches. And Itihasa and Purana, they are meant for the common man, because the common man may not be able to read all those things. So Itihasa Purana Bhyam Vedam Samupa Brahmayet, he says, Vyasa. So that is through these two things. Veda, the dharma which is told in the Vedas, the twofold dharma which is told in the Vedas has to be communicated to the common man. Then coming to this Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, it is called Upanishad. Bhagavad Gita su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishnarjuna Samvade so and so Adhyaya. So and so it says. So Sri Krishnarjuna Samvada. Samvada is the discussion between a teacher and a student. That is Samvada. It is not Vivada, Samvada. Samvada is between a teacher and a student. Then again, Bhagavad Sri Krishnarjuna Samvada, Bhagavad Gita su Upanishatsu. Upanishatsu, Bhagavad Gita su it says. Gita su is again in plural. Gita itself is, the word Gita is used for any great statement which is telling about the equation between Jiva and Brahma. Jiva, when he is purified, he is nothing other than Brahma. Jiva, even otherwise, at all times, he is Brahma only, but he has not realized. But when he realizes, he becomes Brahma. So what great statements which talk about the oneness of Jiva and Brahma, that is a Gita. So that is the reason why the whole text is called Bhagavad Gita, because that essential philosophy is told in that. Gita su, that is why Gita su. Every shloka is like a Gita. Some traditional pundits, they say, oh, this particular shloka is called Titikshopanishad. He says, for example, some traditional Swamijis, the Titiksha, what is that, that shloka, particular shloka. So Titikshopanishad. Then, for example, Ashochya and Anvashochastvam, one Swamiji says it is Ashokopanishad. So like that, they said, okay, this particular shloka is emphasizing on this. So most of these shlokas, you find the origin, their moolam or original in some Upanishad. So that is the reason why it is called Upanishad.
Okay, thank you. And now we will take one question from the people who raised the hand. Dr. Chinkuri.
Sir, namaskar, sir.
Namaste, please.
Sir, it's a wonderful presentation, sir. I have one question, sir. How can we bring Vedantic studies to general people? And is there any support from either government or Hindu organizations in this regard, if you want to start any center?
It is easy to teach Vedanta to common man. That is exactly what Vivekananda did. If we see, when Vivekananda went about 150 years ago to Chicago, he did not teach any Purana. He did not teach about any yajna. He did not talk about any other puja and vratam or anything. He merely spoke what is there in the Upanishads. He just spoke what is there in the Upanishads and in the Gita. So that is all he said. Our tradition is like this. We have got such a great liberal tradition. What are you saying? Your tradition is something which is based on a belief. Ours is a philosophical tradition. So this philosophical tradition is very easy to teach. In fact, we have got books, and then if we see, if we take the books of Vivekananda, you further simplify them and then put them in a more logical way. And of course, they are logical. You put them in a very easy form, and then you will be able to teach. That is very, very essential. And regarding the help from the government, I don't think help will be there from the government. It has to come from us only, because Hinduism is something we all have a responsibility to preserve it. In fact, we all say that we are the inheritors of, not inheritors, we are the descendants of our great rishis. We tell our pravara, so and so, gotra, so and so, something like that. Even otherwise, Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. Our duty is Swadhyaya and pravachana. Every person is expected to study. Swadhyaya is expected to study his branch of Veda and Pravachana to whatever possible extent. He should be able to teach, he should be able to tell, continue teaching, at least to his son, at least to his grandchildren, and if possible to some other people also. Swadhyaya and Pravachana, everybody is expected to do. And the king, or rather the government, if it creates a proper environment for that, it is good enough. But sometimes the proper environment may be there, proper environment may not be there. And even from our own temples, the government takes away money. So our temples also, sometimes they are taken away by the government. So that is what is happening. In some places, there may be favorable environment. Some places, there may not be favorable environment. But then there is a mandate on us that we are supposed to study. We are supposed to communicate. The sampradaya is something which is like a relay race. Sampradaya. Samyak pradiyate. Daya is the division. You are handing the baton to the next man. That man will hand over the baton to the next man. So like that, it is sampradaya is handing over the baton to the next, from guru to shishya, from guru to shishya, or from parent to son, so something like that. So that is how. And in fact, if we are born with 3 runas, you might have heard about that also. Every person who is born, the moment you are born, something like which is a national debt. The moment you are born with the 3 types of runa. That is, we have to pay indebtedness. What are the Devarunam, Pitrurunam, and Rushirunam? Devarunam is performing some rituals, etc. Pitrurunam, respecting our elders and then doing all the Pitru Karyams, etc. Rushirunam is studying the Vedas and transmitting that knowledge. We are supposed to do that. There is no point blaming the government. Everyone, every parent, we have to tell we are supposed to do that. Otherwise, we are not doing our job. We are not doing our dharma. So that is it.
Okay. There is another question in the chat box. Now, how did you manage with the version updation? In the sense that you had different opinions from different gurus on Bhagavad Gita, say. So how do you feel? I mean, how do you make that version control?
Kindly repeat, I didn't hear properly.
Version control means, this guru has said something and, next guru has said something, something different.
Okay. That is the reason why there is a general rule. The rule is, there is what is called Shruti, there is what is called Smruti. Shruti is only Veda. Veda means including Upanishad. Veda, Samhita, Veda includes the Samhita portion, the Brahmanam portion, the Aranyaka portion, and also the Upanishadic portion. That is the original. And Smruti is what comes later. That is, say for example, what is there in the Shruti, the Smruti repeats. Shruti is something which has come by oral tradition. Smruti, again, the books were there. Valmiki Ramayana, etc., books were there. So Smruti is they are the secondary text, and then the primary text is Veda. And in this primary text, there is no discord, there is no difference of opinion, because all these Upanishads, they have got what is called Ekavakyata. Ekavakyata is unity of thought. So that is the reason I was mentioning the book called Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras, it's a wonderful text. It's a wonderful text which proved, or rather which established the Ekavakyata in the Upanishads. There is a unity of thought in the Upanishads or in the Vedas. So then when you come to Puranas, suppose Vishnu Purana says something, Vishnu is great, Shiva Purana says something great. So we have no answer to that. That is, let the followers of Vishnu consider Vishnu as supreme. Let the followers of Shiva consider Shiva as supreme. But then let them not quarrel. So that is the reason why Shankaracharya said, okay, please don't quarrel. You put Shiva, if you are a Vishnu Bhakta, you put Vishnu in the middle and then put all other gods around. And if you are a Shiva Bhakta, put Shiva in the middle and then put all others around. So that is how he harmonized, or rather he did some panchayat, we can say. And he said, no, don't quarrel. So that is where, when I was telling about that rule, general rule is, when there is some sort of difference between what Shruti says and what Smruti says, it is what Shruti prevails, and Smruti is not accepted. Shruti prevails. So that is the basic rule.
Okay. Next, we will take a question from Venkat. Venkat, can you unmute yourself and Venkat Mahodaya? Okay. Ratnam Mahoday, I will ask you to remote. Unmute.
Namaskaram, Mahodaya.
Namaste.
Sir, first of all, I would like to congratulate you for your services at DJP of AP. We were very proud of you. And now hearing you with the vast, comprehensive knowledge about Bharata Vangmaya, I'm really very, very happy to hear you. And at this time, this is a very, very needed lecture because there's so much of confusion that each one, they keep talking about, as you said, we should be able to give proper answers when we are asked questions. So without answering some correct question in the correct way, we are not defending our culture at all. It is not just holding on to the elephant's leg and saying that it is like this, it is like this. But we should have a comprehensive knowledge. And as you said rightly, Vedanta is the one that will give the answers. And I got your point, sir. Upanishads are the ones that we have to read thoroughly and understand them. And it is not like giving lecture on Upanishads, but keep having the Upanishads in the mind to in order to know what is the Hinduism, and in order to tell the youngsters or the next generations what is Hinduism, and we should be able to answer rightly for the questions that we are asked. Thank you very much, sir. We are very happy.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
Ratnam
Amma.
Garu.
In fact, I usually give a comparison between, if you want to compare Hinduism with other religions, they are like a school where only up to 10th class is there. 10th class, up to 10th class is the highest there. Our school, it is having up to PhD. But we have not gone up to that PhD, we have stopped at 10th class. The other 10th class fellow is very thorough with his book, and then he is putting so many inconvenient questions to us. And whereas we have got that PhD level, Vedanta, that highest thing is Vedanta. And we have not gone to that. We are only confined at Puranas, we are confined at this worship and that worship, etc. And then we are also saddled with so many, what can we say, superstitions. So all these superstitions will disappear if you read Gita. In fact, I challenge and say, whenever I talk on Gita, I make this point. If you study the Gita, or if you listen to Gita properly, then all our superstitions also will disappear. So that is what I say. In fact, ours is something which is such a noble philosophy, and I feel that we are all fortunate to have been born in this particular tradition.
Because we are constantly wanting to memorize things rather than understanding it. So
Yes,
that is
yes.
the reason that we are not able to answer back.
In fact, I told somebody in UK, US, there is no need to learn all the 700 slokas, because the student who is in US, he is having so much of other work also. He has to know so many other things. It is enough if you know about 50 slokas, or maybe maximum of 100 slokas, and not more than that. So all these 50 or 100 slokas, they give you all the doctrine which we need. Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ratnam Garu. Now, Venkat Garu.
Yes, sir. Sir, good evening, sir. Sir, am I audible,
Namaste.
sir?
Yeah, you are
Yes,
audible.
yes, very
Yes,
much, very much.
sir, good evening, sir. Excellent lecture. You have given a cup of tea with all the essence of Vedic culture and traditions and whatnot. Everything I have drank, and it was tasty also, sir. But one thing thought is lingering in my mind: why the system or the universal plan was designed in such a fashion? Rama Avataram has ended in a war. Krishna Avataram has ended in a war. What could be the future of Kali Yuga, where those two yugas have been much enriched and enlightened people were there? Still, they have to fight. But it is clear, evident in Kali Yuga, nobody is perfect. And what could be the future, sir? Kindly guide us.
Yeah, you have put a question on Puranas, that is secondary texts about which there is no certainty. If you go to the primary text, that is Upanishads and things like that, I mean everything is very clear. But when you come to Puranas, there can be several questions. In fact, Puranas, we have to read them for ethical issues. Then apart from that, yeah, the question you posed also is very, very, in fact, it comes to my mind also. For example, Sri Krishna Niryanam, we see in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Krishna Niryanam, what happens? All these them lechas, they come and take away the wives of Krishna. Then what is this? Then, and of course,
All his teaching has gone in
Avatara.
vain, sir. All his
Yeah,
teaching
this
has gone in vain.
yeah, Avatara, at least Avatara, many people say that this Uttara Ramayanam is not the work of Valmiki. I also sincerely feel that Uttara Ramayanam is not the work of Valmiki, only up to this coronation. Then thereafter, because there are so many reasons, why we can say it is not the work of that is Valmiki. So Ramayanam ends happily, that is Rama getting coronated, etc. Then again, Bharatam, if you see, Mahabharata ends in a war, and that had to end like that only. Mahabharata, it had to end like that only because there was no other way, because one group was absolutely adamant and then they were unwilling to part with the kingdom. So
But,
Dharma has to be established, and when
yes, sir.
Dharma has to be established, he has to fight a war. So the Mahabharata, I don't think there is any confusion. Only in Srimad Bhagavatam, I got a doubt. Srimad Bhagavatam, after Krishna's demise, or rather departure, then what happened? All these mlechas coming. So like the love jihad, etc. Nowadays, they
Yes.
even in those days, some mlechas they came and took away our women. It was a
Yes.
very rather unfortunate thing.
Why that Brahman has designed in such a fashion, sir, in those two guys, and what could be the future of Kali Yuga then?
I cannot say that. I cannot say.
No Jyotisham. Okay, now KVR Samurthy garu.
Sir. Namaskar, Aravinda.
Namaskar.
I had a great opportunity to meet you in your chambers, crossing all the riflemen, along with Professor Kuppa Krishnamurthy garu, when you asked some discussions.
Yeah, he is one of my gurus.
Yoga Vasistha and other Vedic literature you have discussed. And your today I follow some of your lectures on TV and YouTube. Okay. So what I have in my mind today is, when you are talking about the Hindu gods, how these Panchabhutas have been described in Upanishads as well as Vedas as well as the Puranas, and how our kids, we can make alignment with the nature, Panchabhutas, and tell them the importance of gods in these Panchabhutas, and educate them so that these are our main gods, and these are described in our Vedas or whatever, in Puranas or Upanishads. And also, what is the other religions' perspective on these Panchabhutas as gods in other religions? And I would like some clarification on this.
Yeah, so far as I see, Panchabhutas at the Vedanta level and Panchabhuta at the Purana level.
Yes.
Panchabhutas at the Vedanta level, it is very, very clear. They all come under the category of Jada, that is insentient. The only sentient thing is consciousness, and that infinite consciousness, and that consciousness appears as all these things. That is, as I said, and one Upanishad says, Tasmadvaye tasmadatmana akasha sambhutah akashadvayuh vayoragnihi agnerapah adhyah pruthivi. So it talks about some say a sort of an order in which they all evolved. So this sort of evolution of the first manifestation was Akasha, space. From that consciousness, supreme consciousness, the first this thing is space. Akasha, the Vayu. The second manifestation was Vayu, and the third manifestation Vayoho Agnihi. That is presumably what scientists say that hot airs they evolved, and then something like that. I am not imposing science on that, but it could be like that. Our rishis, they might have had a vision like that. So this from Vayu, Agni came. Agner Apaha. Agner Apaha means this from this Agni, this is fluid state. That fluid state evolved. That is Apaha. Then Adjah Pruthivi, when it cooled down, that became Pruthivi. That became the solid matter. And then Prithivya Oshadhaya. And then from this solid matter, all this plant kingdom, Oshadhi is plant kingdom. So all this plant kingdom came. Oshadhibhyo Annam, and all this plant kingdom came first. It is not the man the animal who came first, it is the plant kingdom which came first. And that plant kingdom became the food for animals. Oshadhibhyo Annam, Annat Purushaha. From that Annam, Purusha is not a human being. Purusha is starting from an amoeba, starting from a small insect. So from that, all that evolution has taken place. So at the level of Vedanta, there is no confusion. At the level of Vedanta, it says there are the consciousness which is appearing as Jada. Then at the level of Purana, when you come to Purana, you are worshipping Agni as a god. You are worshipping Vayu as a god. You are worshipping other things, Apaha, this Varuna as a god. You are worshipping Prithvi as a goddess. So at the level of Purana, we accept all this. And at the level of Purana, when you are saying all this, it also helps us in having respect for our nature. You see, Hinduism is the only religion where ecology is built into our system. Where ecology is very much there. For example, the very first mantra of Yajurveda, it says when the person goes to pluck one palasha branch, then he is bowing to that palasha branch. Ishetva, Jetva, some mantra is there. So he says, he is actually requesting, or rather asking for permission from the tree to pluck or to cut a branch. So similarly, when you are digging earth, so there also, Mrittike, Haname, Papam, etc. Oh, Mrittika, I am digging you, something like this, some shlokas are there. So similarly, when you are bathing in a river, then again you are asking the river for excuse. So like that, there is a respect for nature everywhere. And these are things which we can tell our children also. This respect for respect for nature, respect for all the beings, all the living beings. And when Gita says Jiva not only means a human being. It comes from an ant. What applies to human being applies to an ant, a mosquito, etc. All these beings are at the same level from the point of view of that reality, from that Brahma. So from Panchabhutas, at two levels we can say. At Vedanta level, very clinical analysis. At the level of Purana, you can say, okay, they are gods, we can say. There's no harm worshipping them. That is it.
So any books are available on this so that to study and
I have not seen from that point of view. Maybe many people might have written.
Thank you, sir.
About Panchabhutas. You want exclusively on Panchabhutas, huh?
Yes, sir.
Panchabhuta, I don't know whether anybody has written from the Purana point of view. I don't know.
Sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And now,
How about other religions' view on this Panchabhutas, for instance, Christianity and other religions?
Any further question? I didn't follow properly.
yeah, he asked another small question. What is the view of other religions on this Panchabhutas?
Oh, other religions. Yeah, other religions. I don't know. Other religions, the Abrahamic religions, they accept only 4 bhutas. Abrahamic religions, that is Prithvi, Apas, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha, they don't accept. Akasha is the one thing which is accepted, in our say structure. So that is what I know. But there are also some debates about why they have not accepted Akasha, etc. I don't remember it now. I read it long ago. Why we are accepting Akasha and why Akasha is not accepted by others. Even Buddhists, they don't accept Akasha. So like that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I think Ratnam Garu wants to again ask a question.
Yes, please. Yes.
can you give us a manuscript of your lecture today?
You mean a script of this lecture?
Today.
Yeah, I
today.
can. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. Some sort of summary of this today's talk. Okay.
Yeah, because if it is from your hand, it will be more authentic. So
Okay.
actually, thank you.
Recently, I prepared a note after this Kerala story came. Thereafter, I prepared a note comparing Hinduism with other religions. How we are totally different. Basically, the fundamental point is ours is something which is based on philosophy, whereas other things they are based on some faith, just blind belief. That's all. So, various points I have noted in that. I can put it. I'll send it to our
Amarendra Babu.
Amarendra Babu Garu, and they will be able to circulate to everybody.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much, sir.
V.K. Ratnam garu.
Thank you.
And then now Gauri Mohan garu.
Namaste, sir. It's beautiful this thing. But I would
Namaste.
like to ask one question here. To protect our Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma, can we practice whatever is given in the Bhagavad Gita in the form of slokas? Can we put them into practice and protect our Hinduism or our Sanatana Dharma? Is it possible?
Yes, that is exactly what is the purpose of Gita. The very purpose of Gita is to know the reality in a wider canvas. On a wider canvas, you know the reality, and then we have to do our dharma. So that is what Arjuna was told. So he was asking about questions about our punyam, papam, etc., etc. Then Krishna had to give him a big picture and then tell him, yes, this is your duty as a Kshatriya. So everyone has to perform one's duty. So that duty for a Kshatriya was to restore order, restore dharma. So that is what he did. And for people like you and me, our duty is, this is a sort of civilizational war. Luckily, it is a civilizational war. Luckily, it is an intellectual war. If it is an intellectual war, and if we, having such a great philosophical background, if we can't fight people who are who are having all their arguments from some belief-based book, if we can't counter them, it is our own failure. We are having such huge philosophy behind. And then they don't have any philosophy. They have got only a belief system. If we can't defeat them in arguments, in fact, our very tradition is argumentative tradition. Our basic tradition is, even now, if you go to Peethams, you see Shastra Sabhas. All the acharyas, they sit and then they start debating. So even now that practice is still going on. So we should be able to do that. The basic problem here is we have lost contact with Sanskrit. For the last 2-3 generations, our people have lost contact. And maybe luckily, suddenly, sometime we come back. Actually, in my 30s or 40s, I seriously started studying our texts. Till that time, I had only some small knowledge of Sanskrit, some little knowledge of Sanskrit. But then in my early 40s, then I very seriously started learning. So, but then we have to teach the same thing to our children also. And there is no other way. We have to study and then we have to teach. That's all.
But just mere teaching is not
Bhagavad
sufficient.
Gita, yeah. Your basic question was
So how
about
we have to
implementing
bring
Bhagavad
the
Gita.
changes
Yes.
in the society. Yeah.
Sorry, Emma?
How we have to bring the change in the society. How we have to protect ourselves, our children, our
Yeah, that chain. Unfortunately, I was saying that
the
Sampradaya is like
fighting
a
is
relay
also
race.
going on right from the Shankaracharya time also, during that time also. But how far we have succeeded in this?
I didn't follow. Can you repeat, Babu Gar?
Yeah.
Yeah. How far we have succeeded in our efforts to educate people.
Educate whom? Educate?
The public.
Educated public means they do listen. In fact, You see, all of us have got a responsibility to teach in our own whatever little sphere we have. So that is what I feel. And for educating the public, we should keep on writing some articles. We should keep on writing some simple books. That is the job of all our pandits. They have to write simple books only, not very complicated books, but very simple books from the point of view of common man. There is a great need to educate the common man now. Because in olden days, our ancestors, our rishis, they thought that common man will not be able to understand this great philosophy. So for the sake of common man, they talked about Puranas, etc. But now the common man is no longer a common man. The common man is exposed to so much of science. Even a 5-year-old child, he knows what is cosmos and what not. So the common man is very, very well informed. A common man is mentally equipped to take the entire Vedanta if only somebody teaches. So unfortunately, there are not many agencies which are teaching. So in fact, in my view, more and more people should be teaching Vedanta.
Yeah.
Even our pravachans, we see that many people, they teach some Lalita Sahasranama, some other Nama, some other Puranam, etc., etc. Kartika Puranam, some other Puranam. They don't teach Vedanta. So in my view, more and more people should be teaching Vedanta.
Thank you, much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. So there's one question from my side that we are conducting a 3-month course on Sanatana Dharma and teaching various subjects, basic subjects, and we are going deeper in those subjects in the second advanced level course now. But the audience is above 40 years, mostly above 30 years. We want to concentrate on less than 30 years. And we are looking for, finalizing syllabus. In fact, we are in the initial stage, not finalizing. So can you guide us on what to teach for these people? Below 30 means the young parents and then their kids.
Sure. Not guiding. I don't say guide. I will be associated, definitely associated.
That is great. Okay. So I will get in touch with you regarding this. So we will.
Sure.
Prabhak, sorry. Tell me what you want to say. You are saying something?
Yeah.
No, sure. In fact, I will be associated. No problem.
Okay. Prabhakar.
Yeah, sir. Dhanyavadaha.
Namaskara.
I just want to, Namaskar. We are recent Raja Malhotra, mostly the lectures are going on workism system. Can you just throw some light on that?
Rajiv Malhotra's talks on wokeism.
Wokeism, yeah.
Yeah, woke culture. Yeah, that woke culture, you see, the Western society has adopted this principle of individualism. They adopted this policy of individualism as the greatest virtue. And if we see how this individualism has come into Western society, I was actually doing some search, some sort of research, whatever. So then I saw that Emerson's writings, they were the starting point for this idea of individualism. And Emerson wrote a long essay called Self-Reliance. Self-reliance. You know that Emerson was a great admirer of Hindu texts. And then, in fact, they were actually blamed for some time. The church was very angry with him, and then they boycotted him. They kept him away. And it was only when he became very, very famous that again the church somehow brought him back and then tried to soften him. So, but then Emerson, he took care to hide his admiration for Hindu texts. So in that essay called Self-Reliance, he talks about only self-realization. You see that kindly read, it is available on the net also. Self-reliance. He talked about self-realization, and he did not use the terminology which we find in Vedanta, but he made it, he translated them into whatever ideas were suitable for that generation at that particular time. So he wrote that article. And from that time onwards, this idea of reliance and individualism, it picked up. And in the recent times, the idea has become so wild that anybody can declare his say sex in whatever manner he wants. Suppose I go and say that I am a woman, so that nobody can say, nobody can dispute, irrespective of whatever is the biological structure. I can say, and a girl can go and say I am a boy, and somebody can say I am so and so, I am a transgender, whatever. So all these things, they are thinking that it is a sort of liberty, and then it is nothing but foolishness. Nothing but foolishness. But unfortunately, they are thinking it as a very great thing. And this foolishness is being encouraged by the anti-American lobby, particularly because wokeism is something which is right now an American phenomenon. It has not seriously come into India. So this anti-American agencies, who are they? For example, all these Islamic countries and also China, that is called the Red-Green Alliance. Red-Green Alliance. Green is these Islamist countries, and red is the China. This Red-Green Alliance is now very, very strong, which is impacting all the democracies in the world. All the democracies, including Indian democracy, they want to destroy this Red-Green Alliance. And China is one state where they are crushing their Muslims, local Muslims. But on the other hand, they are also helping the Islamic countries, making some sort of economic aid or some other road road initiatives and whatnot. So they are they are giving some technology to them, and then giving weapons, etc. And that way they are putting down their own Muslims, and they are helping. They are making use of these Muslims as their armed gundas. That's all. They're using them as some muscle men or gundas, and these people are also behaving like that. So these two people coming together, and then they have purchased most of the professors in the American universities, and we saw that even during that Trump's time, there was some investigation which was initiated on several professors who were accepting money from China. Many university professors, they were taking salaries from the university. They were also getting some parallel salary from unaccounted salary from China. And China had made millions and millions of dollars unaccounted contributions to various universities to influence their policies. So China had purchased. When China is able to purchase American universities, will it be difficult to purchase our universities and our media? So the entire Western media or American media, most of the American media is totally liberal in the sense this left liberal, this abnormal liberal. So this woke philosophy, and anybody who doesn't accept it, or anybody who wants to oppose it, he is immediately treated as somebody, some racist or whatever it is. You are a racist, you are a fundamentalist, something like that, or you are a hate monger. So people don't want to be called racists. People don't want to be called hate mongers. So even good people are silenced. All the good people are silenced when somebody says, "Oh, you are a racist, you are a hate monger," etc., etc. So that is how wokeism is surviving. Wokeism is surviving by intimidating good people and by purchasing all these purchasable commodities like professors, etc. It's very unfortunate that even the professors in American universities are getting purchased. And certainly our own politicians, the same red-green lobby is also helping several politicians. It is actually creating a lot of mischief in our country. So that is what is the that is what is wokeism. And somebody has to do some research, in my opinion, about how this philosophy of individualism is something which is a wrong understanding of Hindu philosophy. Basically a wrong understanding of Hindu philosophy has resulted in this, this individualism, which is ultimately destroying the American society and also the Western society in general.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I just another observation I want to put forward before you is the WhatsApp groups, whatever we are trying to convince the people the realities of the atrocities being attacked to the Indian population, Hindu population. And we try to convince them and tell them it is like a it has become like that. So whatever we say, something they find out and then come back to again same thing again, avoiding our questions, our logic. So it's becoming very difficult. Better, I think,
Yeah, that is
sometime I'm coming
because,
to,
yeah,
sometime
that is
I'm coming
because
to a
all these
conclusion.
liberals,
Yeah, I'm coming to a conclusion. Let us not give encouragement at all. Just isolate them. That's what I'm coming to the conclusion. Instead of arguing with them,
yeah, that
trying
is
to convince them. Yes.
Yeah, that is because these liberals, they pose themselves as very great people who are on a high moral ground, and they treat us as some untouchables. Suppose you say something about liberalism, you say something about against wokeism. So you are treated as somebody who is a racist. So they are intimidating us, saying that you are all. So I mean, something like fundamentalist, etc. So that is how we are being silenced, and then they are having their field day.
Thank you,
But
sir.
we should continue to teach our own version.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I also want to thank you, but that your interest to associate us with our future program of our children, how to do this for this. Please kindly associate and
Excellent.
guide us. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Then there are so many questions, sir. There still 4 people are waiting for you.
Okay.
We have got 10 minutes time.
Prakash garu.
Please brief.
We are very fortunate enough to have your. Hello, sir.
Make it brief, please.
Sir, am I audible, sir? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Sir?
Yeah.
Please make it brief.
Yes. Namaste, sir. Hello, sir.
Go ahead.
Sir, namaste, sir. Actually, we are fortunate enough to have your discourse, sir, today. But actually, sir, Bhagavad Gita is embraced as a curriculum in all the foreign universities. And why our governments are not implementing it in our schools and colleges, sir? Because it is, every foreigner is saying that it is it is a great guru. We can learn so much about our life and as well as our ethics and as well as our behavior. Then why we are not embracing it, sir? That is the only thing, and how best it can be implemented.
Okay.
What shall we do, sir, for that? What is the?
You see, when Muslims are reading the Quran, there is no help from the government. There is no government is not prescribing in any school. Whereas we are asking for some government help. Islam, they are teaching Quran to their children on their own. Whereas we are not teaching our own Gita to our own children. So there is no point expecting some help from the government. There is no point saying that the government has to prescribe and whatnot. Government, they are governed by, or rather they are influenced by the demography. So in fact, the syllabus, if you see the syllabus, in olden days and the syllabus now, when we studied, we had passages from Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc. But then now there are no passages. That is, they say that no, this is all Hinduism, we have to remove it. So the textbook committee and the people who sit in the textbook committee, they are also this left-wing liberals. They have infiltrated that. They have infiltrated and captured. So these left elements, the leftist elements, they are there everywhere. So what we have to do is only we have to at our level, whatever is possible, we should keep on saying. And governments, some favorable governments, sometimes some favorable government means only BJP government. What is the other favorable government? So this BJP government, if it is there, even they have to do it in an intelligent way. They should not do it in a ham-handed way. If they do it in a ham-handed way, then again there will be some sort of backlash. So, for instance, in Karnataka, where was the need to go for this hijab ban and all that? Okay, let the stupid people put on hijab. Why are you bothered? So if you ignore them, probably they will also leave it. If you make it a big issue, then you are antagonizing some people. You are losing all these voters. So they have learned the hard way. I don't say they have learned. They're doing all these ham-handed things. So these governments also, they should act in a rather intelligent way, even when putting this, prescribing Gita. But I don't have any hope that government will prescribe Gita. We have to.
Sir, my submission,
we ourselves have to teach.
Sir, my submission here is that Constitution itself is providing for minority allowance for education under Article 30 and the 28 and other things. and giving a bar for us to promote and this thing. That class, already classes are there. And there is a support for madrasas and other things, and other financial support is there for the masjids, etc. Tax evasion, tax exemptions, and all those things are there. There is definite support is there from the government to the other religions, and our education institutions, other educational institutions have been taken over by these convent-based educations mostly, and our people have been blindly following them and not giving our education institution people also, I mean Hindu education people also, they are blindly following them, because the people appreciate their convent culture. They are also appreciating, and then instead of teaching our culture, they're following the culture of those people only. They're also not having bindi and all those things. That's how this is getting effort. And because of this BJP government, other things, because that turning will come out now. And educational issues are changing now. So many issues Hindu issues are coming now into our fold and trying to teach. Which Pilani started Bhagavad Gita, and Bharati Vidya Bhavan started this thing. So people are starting, and it has to catch fire. Next, Murthy, please. PS Murthy.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I am PS Murthy. Sir, it's an excellent oration. Nizanga chala bagundi. You have given in a crisp manner insight into the Bhagavad Gita and Hinduism and all. It is well taken. For civil servants, it is really a great initiative you have taken. And sir, I have, I mean, you mentioned now about Taitra Upanishad and that Akasat Vayuhu that you have mentioned. And how do you relate these Panchabhutas into our Vastu? Because we take into consideration these Panchabhutas in our day-to-day Vastu, Nitya Vastu or Chara Vastu or permanent Vastu. So what is your observations or take on this?
I have no idea about Vastu, please, kindly. Okay. I have no idea about Vastu. Okay. I don't know two subjects.
Yeah.
I don't know Vastu. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay. No issues. Because you said only in Smruti is taken in one manner, all these Panchabhutas, and in Shruti they have taken in the other way. And Purana.
Not the other way. Shruti is like a philosophy, text of philosophy. In a text of philosophy, there is no, God and all that. A text of, okay, air means air, Vayu is Vayu, Agni is Agni, Jalam is Jalam. So like that, all these things are categorized as Jada. So there in Upanishads or in the Vedas, of course, there are some suktas, Agni Suktam, etc. The suktas are there. But then that is actually telling about the importance of all those things in our life. But then when it comes to Purana, you find it into a God. So it is not as though they are two different things. They are told to two different types of people. Philosophy is for a thinker, and the religion is for the ordinary man. Religion means all these gods, etc., hierarchy, etc., is for the common man. So our people told at two levels. So that we have to accept it. We have to see.
Okay, Srinivas Garu.
Namaste, Andy. It was a very good talk, which I learned this lot of things. So, like these other religions are trying their level best to express as a only religion. But if we collect, means like if we take support of all the yogis, that Pitadapatis, and express ours is only the religion with giving in examples, like we have got when a person become a yogi, he will get some kind of power where he can cure the person diseases, make the blind person to see. And if we can see about the Shankaracharya, the Shankaracharya, where he has left his body and entered the other bodies to know about the Kama Sutras principles. So in that same way, like if we can take an examples and this provide a video and show it in front of the whole world, then how will it be? And will the yogis will come forward to
I don't know. I have not seen any such yogi. In fact, I am trying to see. I am trying to see such yogis, but I have not come across any such yogi.
why?
That
Because
is my.
if we show any miracles and if we show the person will get cured, then only they will believe it. If we talk indefinitely, then the person will never understand. But if any miracle occurs, they will tell this is the only truth.
You don't know how far it is. I don't know how far it is a right strategy, because miracles, etc., they are not accepted to be the highest thing in us, in our tradition. Whether it is Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there is one particular section called Vibhuti Pada. Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it is in 4 padas. First is Samadhi Pada, second is Sadhana Pada, the third is Vibhuti Pada. Vibhuti Pada, and again 4th is Kaivalya Pada. That Vibhuti Pada, it talks about the miracles which you mentioned. So all these miracles, etc., how these miracles can take place. Patanjali has tried to explain it in a rather scientific way. Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. These 3 are the 7th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Those Ashtanga Yoga in that Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. These 3 things put together, they are called Sanyama. Trayam Ekatra Sanyama. There is a sutra. That is Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. All 3 put together, they are called Sanyama. So if you are concentrating on a particular thing, suppose you are listening to some birds, and then you are focusing your mind entirely on the Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. In some time, after some time, you will know the language of those birds. So similarly, you will have some Duradushti, Durasravana, things like that. So he tries to explain it in a, rather scientific way. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, if you see the Bhashyam along with commentaries, if you see, that is what you find. But I have not come across any such sadhu or Mahatma who showed them to people. There were some people like Puttapati Sai Baba who used to take out that linga from his mouth, etc. But then there were also people who were questioning, and then there were also people who were also doing it parallelly. So we don't know whether it is. I particularly don't know about it. But then all the traditional teachers of Vedanta, they say that should not be the pursuit for us. Our pursuit should be to know the truth. Our pursuit should be to know what is that reality, what is that Brahma. That is it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mani Garu, we'll take one more question. It's already 6 o'clock. One more question, sir.
I'll not take much time. First of all, I would like to thank for the wonderful talk, and also followed by the discussion, wonderful discussion that we had. And specifically, it's good that you brought out the point about the red-green brigade, which is trying to curb so many things happening, and also trying to purchase the professors. I totally agree with you that they're trying to influence, many people are trying to influence the so-called academia. I also happen to be one of them, small. But my basic thing which I wanted to share rather and get your opinion, I think as you rightly said, it's necessary for us to move gray hair to see that the tradition, our culture goes to the younger generation. I totally agree with you. There, specifically, there was some point about reaching out to the younger generation below 40 years. I think there was a mention about that. So it's in that context, I thought I'll just share my idea about it and get your opinion on that. The younger generation, especially student level, or maybe slightly they're getting matured at the age of up to 30, 35. What are they interested in? They're interested in today basically 2 streams: science, technology is one side, management on the side. And I think Bhagavad Gita has got a lot of things to do with this. There's a lot of relationship with management. I think many of us have read that, are probably following it, or probably teaching it also. And similarly, on all the other side also, I see there's a lot of things which are correlating with other Puranas. Rather, I would say the Vedanta level also, as also at Purana level, with the science and technology. In fact, I could see that things which are today talked about, artificial intelligence and genetic algorithms and things like that, or maybe fuzzy logic. Fuzzy logic is one point. I'll just touch upon it a little bit. Logic is something which is yes or no. Fuzzy logic is something based on the environment. And that's exactly what Bhagavad Gita says. Depending upon situation, we have to come to a conclusion. I feel there's a lot of correlation between social logic and things of that sort. Today, what we call as artificials and what is referred in Bhagavad Gita and many of our great epics. So I thought if we have to concentrate, if we have to focus on getting on to the younger generation, concentrate of how Bhagavad Gita is applicable in today's world from the management angle, from science and technology angle. I think that is probably the essence by which we can get our younger generation. I just thought I'll share my ideas and request your guidance on this. Thank you.
Okay, can you give your number in the chat box?
Sure. I'll do that.
We'll get in touch with you.
Thank you, sir.
And, yeah. And then 2 more questions are coming. Should I ask them to put it in the chat box, or you would like to take it?
Okay, they're simple questions, simple in the
Simple,
sense, straight
simple
questions. I
questions.
can.
Can
Yeah,
we
simple
have
or straight questions, not very elaborate.
No more introduction.
And
just,
sometimes the
straight.
voice is not very clear. For example, Manigaru, what he said, the voice was not very clear. Yeah.
Okay. KV Rao garu.
నమస్కారం అండి.
మీ వాయిస్ క్లియర్ గా ఉందండి, చెప్పండి.
గ్రేట్ ఆపర్చునిటీ ఐ హ్యాడ్. మీరు చాలా కాలం నుంచి అనుకున్నా, ఇవాళ విన్నాను. నాకు ఒక విషయం ఏంటంటే, సమాజంలో ప్రస్తుతం గవర్నమెంట్ ఏదో చేయలేదని అనుకుంటున్నాం, కానీ హిందువులకి అంటే సోకాల సనాతనపరులు ఎవరైతే ఉన్నావో, సనాతన ధర్మం పాటించే వాళ్ళకి మనమే అసలు ఇళ్లలో మనం కనుక పాటించడం సరిగ్గా మొదలు పెడితే సమాజంలో మనకి ఎవరి అవసరము లేదు అని నేను స్ట్రాంగ్ గా బిలీవ్ చేసేటువంటి వ్యక్తిని.
Okay.
I totally agree with you.
ఇట్ షుడ్ బి స్టార్టెడ్. ఇప్పుడు హిందువులు వాడు ఒక తాలిబాన్ లో ఏదో అయింది కదా అని చెప్పేసి ప్యాంట్లు సగం పైకి వేసేసుకుని రోడ్ల మీద తిరుగుతూ వాళ్ళు ఇదే అవుతున్నారు. మనం పంచెలు కట్టుకోవడానికి సిగ్గుపడతాం, మనం బొట్టు పెట్టుకోవడానికి సిగ్గుపడుతున్నాం. నేననేది ఇది మనం అందరం ఇట్లాంటి వాళ్ళందరం మాట్లాడుకుంటూ ఉండడం కానీ, ఇదే ఈ సమాజంలో మాస్ లెవెల్లో కనుక ఇది రావాలి అంటే ఓ పంచెలు కట్టే ఉద్యమం ఇట్లాంటివన్నీ స్టార్ట్ చేసి ఒక 1000 మంది 5000 మంది 10,000 మంది పంచెలు కట్టుకు తిరుగుతూ ఉంటే మన ధర్మం పంచెలకు ఎంతో శాస్త్రోక్తమైనటువంటి, అది నేను మీరు ఎక్కువ చెప్పి మాట్లాడదని మాట్లాడను కూడా, పంచెకి చాలా శాస్త్రోక్తమైనటువంటి ఇది ఉంది అసలు హిందువుల కట్టుబాటలో. భగవద్గీత కూడా రిలీజియన్ కట్టకడతారు, కానీ భగవద్గీత నాకు తెలిసిన చిన్న జ్ఞానం ఉన్నంత వరకు భగవద్గీతలో రిలీజియన్ ఎక్కడా కూడా ఇది లేదు. అద్వైష్ట సర్వభూతాన మైత్ర కరుణయోచ నిర్మమో నిరహంకార సమదుఃఖ సురక్షమైన, దీంట్లో ఎక్కడ రిలీజియన్ ఉంది? అన్నిటికీ సర్వభూతాలని ప్రతివాడు నైబర్, లవ్ నైబర్ ఇట్లాంటివన్నీ మాట్లాడతారు, కానీ వేరే రిలీజియన్స్ లో మనం అద్వైష్ట సర్వభూతాన మైత్ర కరుణయోచ నిర్మమో నిరహంకార సమదుఃఖ ఇట్లా ఎవరు చెప్తారు? భక్తి యోగంలో మనకు చెప్పినట్టు. అదే విధంగా ఇన్స్పిరేషనల్ టాక్స్ ఏమో క్లైబ్యం మాస్మకం అపార్థానైతత్ ఉపబద్ధి క్షుద్రం హృదయ దౌర్బల్యం తప్తోతిష్ట పరంతప, ఇది ఎంత హైలీ ఇన్స్పిరేషనల్ టాక్. ఇవన్నీ ఇట్లాంటి శ్లోకాలు భగవద్గీతలో చాలా ఉన్నాయి. నాకు మీకు పర్సనల్ గా నేను రిక్వెస్ట్ చేసేది ఏంటంటే, యు ఆర్ నోన్ టు మెనీ పీపుల్. నేను చాలా చోట్ల మీ గురించి చదివాను. మీరు భగవద్గీత మీరు పిహెచ్డి చేశారని చెప్పేసి నేను ఐ ఫెల్ట్ వెరీ హ్యాపీ. మీలాంటి వాళ్ళు కనుక ఇండివిజువల్ నేమ్ లో అయినా సరే, ఇట్లాంటి ఆర్గనైజేషన్ ద్వారా అయినా ఒక్కొక్క భగవద్గీతకి ఇప్పుడు ఘంటసాల గారు ఇచ్చినటువంటిది ఒక వేదాంతం లాగా జరిగింది. మీరు సైంటిఫిక్ గా మీరు ఇలాంటి మేనేజ్మెంట్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ లోను వీటిలోను రోజుకు ఒక శ్లోకం ఇట్లాంటివి ఏమన్నా ఒక మీనింగ్ లా యూట్యూబ్ లాంటిలో రోజు అందరికీ వచ్చేటట్టు మాస్ లెవెల్లో అందరికీ అందే విధంగా రోజుకు ఒక వన్ వర్స్ ఇట్లా పెడితే, అయితే 3 once in 3 days ఒక వర్స్ లాంటివి పెడితే, ప్రాబబ్లీ ఒక 100 మందికి పంపిస్తే ఒక 10 మంది అయినా పాటిస్తే సమాజంలో చాలా మార్పులు జరుగుతాయని నాకు నా అభిప్రాయం.
ఓకే అండి, నాది ఇంగ్లీష్ లో కంప్లీట్ గీతా బై అరవిందరావు. మీరు యూట్యూబ్ లోకి వెళ్ళి యూట్యూబ్ లో అద్వైత అకాడమీ కంప్లీట్ గీతా బై అరవిందరావు అంటే 270 టాక్స్ ఉన్నాయండి. ప్రతి శ్లోకం కూడా చదివాను. భగవద్గీతలో ఉన్నటువంటి ప్రతి శ్లోకము చదివి ఇంగ్లీష్ లో ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశాను. నేను ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ కూడా కొంచెం సోషలాజికల్ కాంటెక్స్ట్ కూడా ఉంటుంది. నేను ఇందాక కొంచెం సోషలాజికల్ కాంటెక్స్ట్ కూడా చెప్పాను కదా, అది కూడా కొంచెం ఉంటుంది. సో మీరు యూట్యూబ్ లో అద్వైత అకాడమీ కంప్లీట్ గీతా బై అరవిందరావు అని కొట్టండి, కంప్లీట్ గీత. యూ విల్ గెట్ అబౌట్ దానిలో 268 టాక్స్ వస్తాయండి. ఒక చైన్ మొత్తం అంతా కూడా ప్లే లిస్ట్ వస్తుంది. అది దట్ యూ కెన్ సీ.
బాగుందండి, చాలా సంతోషం. టుడే మా ప్రభాకర్ రావు గారు ఇక్కడ
పతంజలి యోగ సూత్రాలు కూడా నేను మొత్తం పాఠం చెప్పానండి. పతంజలి యోగ సూత్రాలు 199 సూత్రాలు కూడా దాని కింద వ్యాస భాష్యం అని ఉంది కదా, ఆ వ్యాస భాష్యంతో పాటు పాఠం చెప్పాను నేను. ఇంగ్లీష్ లో పాఠం చెప్పాను, అది కూడా ఉన్నాయి. సేమ్ అద్వైత అకాడమీకి వెళ్ళి మన యూట్యూబ్ లోకి వెళ్ళి యోగ సూత్రాస్ బై అరవింద్ రావు అంటే వస్తుంది.
నాది ఒక చిన్న మనమండి. నేను బేసికలీ ఐఎమ్ స్టూడెంట్ ఆఫ్ యోగా. ఐ హావ్ బీన్ ప్రాక్టీస్. మా గురువు గారు సిద్ధ పురుషులు. ఆయన నేచర్ ని కూడా ఎలా కంట్రోల్ చేసేవాళ్ళం మా కళ్ళతో మేము చూసేవాళ్ళం. వాన పడమంటే వాన పడేది. ఆయన ఈ ఫ్రమ్ విజయనగరం డిస్ట్రిక్ట్. ఆయన ఇప్పుడు ఈ లెఫ్ట్ ఈస్ బాడీ ఇన్ ద రీసెంట్ టైమ్స్. నేను చూసింది ఏంటంటే పతంజలి యోగ సూత్రాలు టైం ఓల్డ్, వీటికి వేదకాలంకి ఉన్నటువంటివి టైం. ఇప్పుడు ఆయన 2000 సంవత్సరాలు అనేది నేను నమ్మను. చాలా ఏళ్ళ నుంచి ఉండి ఉంటుంది. కానీ రీసెంట్ టైమ్స్ లో అసలు యోగాభ్యాసం ఎలా చేసుకోవాలి అనేది మహర్షి గీరండా అని చెప్పేసి అని ఆయన చండ కాపాలికుడు అనే ఒక శిష్యుడికి యోగాభ్యాసం నేర్పిస్తూ ఫస్ట్ శ్లోకం ఏం చెప్పాడంటే, నాస్తి మాయా సమూహపాశో నాస్తి యోగాత్ పరం బలం నాస్తి జ్ఞానాత్ పరో బంధు నాహంకార పరో రిపు అని మొదలుపెట్టాడు. యోగాభ్యాసానికి దీనికి సంబంధం ఏమిట్రా అంటే అసలు యాక్చువల్లీ ఆయన 650 ఏళ్ళు 13th 14th సెంచరీ వాడు. ఆయన చెప్పింది ఇప్పుడు ఇవాళ డే టు డేలో జరుగుతోంది, అదే అవుతోంది. గివెన్ ఆపర్చునిటీ ఎనీబడి హూ ఇస్ ఎ స్ట్రేంజర్ ఆర్ ఎ క్లోజ్ ఫెలో ఈస్ చీటింగ్ ఇస్ ద ఫస్ట్ ఆర్డర్ ఆఫ్ ద డే. ఆయన నాస్తి మాయా, పాపం అంటే ఏమిట్రా అంటే నాస్తి మాయా సమూహపాశో నాస్తి యోగాత్ పరంబరం నాస్తి జ్ఞానాత్ పరో బంధు. ఇప్పుడు మీతో ఇంతమంది ఉన్నామంటే మీ దగ్గర ఉన్న జ్ఞానం ఉండడం వల్లే మేము ఉన్నాం. బాగా అంటే నాహంకార పరో, అహంకారం వేరే శత్రువులని ఎంత బాగా చెప్పాడు. మీరు ఒక్కసారి మీరు చూసే ఉండొచ్చు, నేను కాదన్ను కానీ. బట్ అందులో చాలా యోగ సూత్రాల్లో కూడా యోగాభ్యాసం కూడా యమనియమాల ప్లేసెస్ లో ఆయన శోధనం దృఢతా చేయవ స్థైర్యం ధైర్యం చ రాఘవం ప్రత్యక్షం చ నిర్లిప్తం చ ఘటస్థ సప్త సాధనం అని ఈ షట్కర్మలని శోధనం అనే దాంట్లో పెట్టేసేసి బాడీని బాగా గనక ఈ ఘటాన్ని గనక శుద్ధి చేస్తే యమనియమాలు ఆటోమేటిక్ గా వచ్చేసేస్తాయని చెప్పాడు. అంటే మేము ప్రాక్టికల్ గా చేసి చూసాము చాలా. ఈ బై జలధౌతి వస్త్రధౌతి సూత్రనీతి ఇట్లాంటివన్నీ చేసి చూస్తుంటే మనిషిలో ప్రవర్తనలోను మానసిక దీంట్లో ఎలా మార్పులు జరుగుతాయో కూడా నేను చాలాసార్లు చూస్తూ ఉంటాను. నేను వస్త్రధౌతి చేయంగానే ఏ రకంగా ఉంటుంది, మనసు ఎలా ప్రవర్తిస్తుంది అనేది కూడా చూస్తున్నాం. ఇప్పుడు ఇవాళ రోజున సమాజానికి సంబంధించింది మటుకు మహర్షి గీరండ యొక్క యోగాభ్యాసం అని చెప్పేసి నేను స్ట్రాంగ్ గా నమ్ముతా. మీరు చూస్తుంటే సరే, లేకపోయినా కూడా ఒకసారి మీరు కనుక చదివితే ప్రాబ్లం మీరు ఇంకా బాగా కూడా చెప్పగలరని చెప్పేసి నా ఇది. ఐ టేక్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ యువర్ టైం. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. మీరు చాలా సంతోషం ఇవ్వాలి. నేను జాయిన్డ్ వెరీ లేట్లీ బట్ స్టిల్ ఐఎమ్ సో హ్యాపీ. ఐఎమ్ థ్యాంక్ఫుల్ టు ప్రభాకర్ రావు గారు కూడా. బికాజ్ ఎవ్రీ టైం పెద్ద సర్ప్రైజ్ లాగా ఒకళ్ళని మించిన వాళ్ళ వ్యక్తులు ఒకళ్ళని ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ చేస్తుంటారు. ప్రభాకర్ రావు గారు నమస్కారం అండి.
నమస్కారం.
Garima, you want to ask any question?
Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, namaste, namaste all. I have just attended, this is the first time, and I've attended the last few Q&A, and it's quite interesting. I'm here, I'm calling from London. I just wanted to ask, is there any channel or the session which you have recited right now? Can I listen that session, please? I would like to listen the wise words which Mr. Arora has just now recited. And so is there any channel or any links where I can get connected and listen these sessions in the following months also, please?
Yeah, okay. You have not unmuted Garima Garu, but you are speaking. How did you come?
Are you able to hear me or not?
I can hear you, but I was just wondering how we are hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That unmute. Yeah, that symbol, mute symbol,
that is
mute
still
symbol is
not
there, but then we
unmuted.
are able to hear. Yeah. But anyway.
Okay, sir.
I have unmuted according to me, but I'm not sure how this technical thing
this
work.
video is being recorded and it will be distributed. You can see that.
Okay. But how would I distribute? Because I'm not in the WhatsApp group or anything. Just received it from Mr. Rao in UK.
Get in
So
touch
is there
with
any
me.
channel or anything?
Veda Samskruti Samiti is a channel where you can see this by tomorrow morning.
Veda
Samskruti Samiti.
Samiti. Is it in YouTube? Is it on YouTube?
Exactly.
Madam Garimaji,
Okay.
please give your number in the chat box. Please give your number.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you so much, all of you,
Thank you, Ji.
for
Namaste. Namaste. Thank you.
active interaction with the speaker, and let us thank Aravinda Rao Garu for sparing so much of time, extra time of another 15 minutes also. And now let us ask Visalash Garu to sum up and vote of thanks.
నాకు కొంచెం టైం ఇస్తుంది, నాకు కొంచెం పర్మిషన్ ఇస్తారంటే మా ఆవిడ చేదు పిలుస్తోంది సంథింగ్
That is more important.
నేను పొద్దున్న నుంచి బయటకు వెళ్ళాను. నేను 4 కరెక్ట్ గా వచ్చాను. 4 కరెక్ట్ గా వచ్చి ఇమీడియట్లీ ఐ ఓపెన్ ది
Thank you very
computer.
much. Thank you very much.
And if you permit me, I will take leave.
Sure.
Because summing up again, it will take some time, and then again,
5 minutes, and then we'll have Prarthana and Janaganamana also. We end up with Janaganamana, sir.
Sir, I do not want to summarize your lecture, sir, because it's already very late. I will not summarize because there is nothing to summarize. In fact, everybody is really very fortunate to listen to your lecture today, sir. Do you remember my face? First time when I met you, I said you are my resource person. Do you remember now? I came along with my husband, and both of us then several times we met at Sankaramatam at so many different places. Thank you very much, sir. I will not summarize anything because actually today all of us are really very fortunate, sir, to have your lecture and to listen your teaching. In fact, this is the great great message you gave is Swachaya Pravachanapyam na Pramaditavyam. We should first know what is the essence of our Sanatana Dharma, and we should try to educate our youngsters about our Sanatana Dharma. That is the main goal of all of us. And you have delivered very wonderful, beautiful lecture, sir. Regarding only one point, I'll tell in 1 second, because you have mentioned about Ralph Waldo Emerson. Of course, he is a great philosopher. He wrote a poem called Brahman. 5 poems he wrote. Then one poem, just I'll tell you. He says, if the red slayer thinks he slays, or if the slain think he is slain, they know not well the subtle ways I keep and pass and turn again. Thus, he spoke about the characteristics of dharma, which we speak in our Vedas, Ashabdam Asparsham Arupam Avyayam Tatharasam, etc. So I will not summarize what you have said, and I want to thank you, sir, on behalf of our Veda Samskruti Samiti, and on behalf of myself personally also. I thank you a lot, and I thank you very much. And we all are very happy that you want to be associated with all of us in our coming next Sanatana Dharma course. Now we are already conducting this 3-month Sanatana Dharma course, and 3 times we have conducted at basic level. Now second level we have already started. Now again for youngsters, now in this present group, 84 years old gentleman is also there, and so many others are there. But now specially for youngsters, we want to start another group, and for that we all request you to guide us in preparing the syllabus, what we have to teach regarding the entire Vaidika Vangmaya.
Surely, Amma.
I will talk to you personally, sir, then we can decide the entire syllabus, and later we can start. Thank you.
Surely.
I thank our Veda Samskruti Samiti also for arranging your lecture today. And I thank our Veda Samskruti Samiti for giving me this opportunity also to talk. Thank you very much. Swasti.
Aravinda garu, మీరు వేద సంస్కృతి పుషిస్తే తత్వ విధానం సరస్వతి గారికి తీసుకెళ్ళి మీరు పుషిస్తే వేద సంస్కృతికి ఆవిడ ఇప్పుడు బ్యాక్ బోన్ లాగా నిచ్చారు. వైస్ ప్రెసిడెంట్ సనాతన ధర్మ మాకు ఆవిడ విశాలక్ష్మి గారు. So she is doing giving lot of lectures to us and helping us doing this. And
Excellent.
Dr. Prabhu, Visalakshmi garu, they are supporting the organization very much. So that's why.
Excellent.
We are making a good group now. Thank you.
Now we have completed, and we all thank him. And now we'll have Pradhana and Janaganamana. Like a request, IHP Rao garu. Yeah.
Yeah. Om. Sahanavavatu sahanau bhunaktu saha viryankaravavahai tejasvinavadhi tamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kachit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Satyam vada dharman chara sarve janaha sukhino bhavantu. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sarvan Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Idam Namama. Namaskara.
Okay, let us all stand up and then sing Janaganamana, national anthem. Janaganamana Dhinayaka Jaya He Bharata Bhagya Vidata Punjab Sindhu Gujarat Maratha Dravida Uttala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Ujjwala Jalati Taranga Tava Subha Nami Jage Tava Subha Shisha Mage Gahi Tava Jaya Gadha Janagana Mangala Dayaka Jaya He Bharata Bhagya Vidhata Jaya He Jaya He Jaya He Jaya 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 He Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind. Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai
Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you all.
Namaskara Sarvebhya Dhanyavada. Good lecture. I'm leaving. Thank you.
Yeah.
Stop Chishava recording.